Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and you know what time it is, and we're gonna get our midweek magic on. This week's midweek magic is going to be kind of a blast from the past for those of you that were around for the majority of the 2023 season. For others, of course, this is going to be your very first experience, potentially quick drafting the Dominaria United format. And we've assembled some good information here on various archetypes to look out for, to help you find your lane within the draft environment. And of course, we're going to talk about all those combat tricks to watch out for so that you can win in the all-important red zone. But before we get into all that, allow me to do the awkward thing and promote the channel. A while back, one of my viewers was kind enough to point out that we are the only channel putting out timely midweek magic content. So be sure to subscribe right here at the Planeswalker Stronghold for all of your future midweek magic needs, because we will be bringing you a deck list or strategy every single week. So what do you say we put all this aside and just get to that? For those of you that may be catching this video beyond the midweek magic event and are looking at DMU as a vehicle to add to your collection as a budget player, there's two key things to keep in mind here. One, this set is best used to improve upon your blue-white soldiers or mono-white soldiers deck that you received as part of your starter collection. There is also valuable puzzle pieces here for mono blue control. Now, for those of you that are going to be drafting this set, picking up pieces for defenders, if you're able to scrape together enough resources to do 3, perhaps 4 drafts here, defenders is probably the best new deck that you could add to your collection, given that soldiers and mono blue control is probably already there. When it comes to soldiers and mono blue control, jump in might be a better vehicle for you than draft. And draft, overall, those resources might be better spent going towards drafting Phyrexia All Will Be One. I think that just gives you better resources overall. But for those of you who wish to carry on, do so. Coming in at number 3 is the Defenders deck, primarily because it is so accessible within the format. Not only are there 2 colorless cards, but there are 2 cards at common and uncommon in white, blue, and black, as well as a green common. So very easy to pick these up, and are something that you're going to see in almost every deck, even the ones that don't necessarily care about Defender. What is going to set those Defender decks apart is one of these 4 cards, and primarily the Chaplain. This card has definitely run away with the archetype here, and believe it or not, I have seen calls to ban this card on Reddit already, and we're only about 2 weeks into the draft environment at the time of recording. But Chaplain is the most serious win condition here, and you see the other 3 here, either for attacking with big butts, for life loss, or for milling. Of course, the milling concept is a lot easier to pull off in Limited than it will be in Constructed, so choose wisely. But I'd say picking up any of these in Pack 1 or early Pack 2 will definitely set you up to potentially draft a full-on Defenders deck. And as we discussed, taking some of those other Defenders early on will set you up for a Pack 3 incidental pickup of one of these potential win cons. There will also be definite cases in which taking a late common pick Defender creature will be the right institution. Shield Wall Sentinel in particular, even if all it does is tutor a second copy of itself, that is in fact a form of pseudo card advantage, and card advantage in limited tends to be pretty good. These late picks may also set you up for an unexpected pick in pack 3, where you pick up one of those other 4 cards we just talked about and you accidentally win the whole thing. It can happen, so choose wisely, guys. Number 2 is really more of a general draft strategy rather than an archetype all its own. If you recall, we spoke at length about the number of great blue cards in this set and just how much of an impact that is going to have on your collection and your arsenal of budget decks for the next 2 years in standard at least before these cards rotate. And currently, I think they're never going to let negate rotate out of standard again. That just seems to be an absolute staple. And the sooner you get them and add them to your arsenal, the better you will be. When speaking about this draft environment, blue plays very well with just about every other color available. So picking these up as kind of a fallback point will allow the AI to then maybe build some decks you didn't expect by combining those strong incidental blue cards with one of your other colors that you drafted maybe more intentionally, and allow you to pick up more wins from the AI created deck than what you had originally expected out of your draft. And we had to make it all the way up to number 1 before we hit our first proper 2-color archetype for Dominaria United. This, I want to focus on the white go wide aspect here, and more specifically the red-white go wide aggro. Not only is this, I think, the 2 most powerful and consistent colors in this limited environment combining into one very effective tool, it is also strong enough on either color's own right that you don't even really need any of the gold cards to really make this strategy come together, although certainly they're nice if you have the opportunity to pick those up. Red-white also adds a strong now and even stronger potential in the future new budget deck to our arsenal. Red-white right now is that warrior samurai build, which is kind of the opposite of go wide. They want you to swing with one creature that then gets support from all the others, and it's cool and I like it, and there's no reason not to play it. But this is the forward-thinking perspective of that deck that will replace the samurai deck for you over months to come, because this deck is going to keep getting stronger. Samurais just isn't going to get that kind of support in a Phyrexian-centered storyline environment. So I think a red-white go-wide needs to be the go-to place for drafts in Dominaria United, and I suspect you're going to see a lot of that on the drafts that I show you in the coming weeks. Alright, so there are a number of potential combat tricks in Dominaria United. First off is take up the shield. 1 mana, 1 white, put a +1 counter on target creature. It gains a lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. Join forces, 2 mana and a white, untap up to 2 target creatures. They each get +2/+2 until end of turn. And heroic charge, 2 mana, 2 white, with a kicker of 1 mana, 1 red. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. If the spell was kicked, those creatures also gain trample until end of turn, obviously most effective in Boros. From there, we've got a protection spell, single blue mana, Shore Up. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Untap that creature. Timely Interference, again, a single blue mana. with a kicker of a 1 and red. Target creature gets -1/-0 until end of turn. If the spell was kicked, that creature blocks this turn if able, and you draw a card. Battle Rage Blessing, 1 and a black. Target creature gains Death Touch and Indestructible until end of turn. Tribute to Urborg, 1 mana, 1 black, with a kicker of a 1 and a blue. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, that creature gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. Definitely the ability to take out some very big things. Flowstone Infusion, target creature gets a +2/-2 until end of turn. That's for a single red. Furious Bellow, 1 mana, 1 red. Target creature gets +3/+0 and first strike until end of turn, and you scry 1. Twinferno, a spell actually from last year's new player experience. 1 mana, 1 red, choose 1. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets, or target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. Warhost Frenzy, 2 mana and a red, with a kicker of a single black mana. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, whenever a creature you control dies this turn, draw a card. Gaia's Might, single green mana. Domain, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each basic land among land types you control. This is a bit of a build around, but can be absolutely devastating. Strengthen the Coalition, single green, with a kicker of 2 and a white. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I'm sure you're familiar with this from the green-white 2024 starter deck. I think it's 2 copies or 3 copies featured in that deck, and for good reason. Tail Swipe, single green. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you cast this spell during your main phase, the creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Then those creatures fight one another. And last but certainly not least, Colossal Growth, 1 mana and a green, with a kicker option of a single red mana. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, instead, that creature gets +4/+4 and trample and haste until end of turn. So those are the instants. Make sure you know them, because any one of these can absolutely wreck you in the red zone and potentially cost you a game. And of course, flash creatures can do a little wrecking in the red zone as well. White is pretty much carrying the day here. Oddly enough, nothing with blue on this one. First up, we've got Resolute Reinforcements. 2 mana, brings a 1/1 and a 1/1 soldier token. Really good in any kind of soldier's deck, and pops down 2 potential blockers out of nowhere. Also, we've got Cleaving Skyrider, a 2/2 with flying for 2 and a white. It also has a kicker, 2 and a single red, that gives a damage dealing option as well, so be on the lookout for those. Coral Colony worked. Of course, we did have to draw almost every wall in our deck, and at one point we had both copies of Coral Colony out, and we're activating for something like 10 per turn. But it can get there. As you can see, they had a very stacked board, but they couldn't afford to come over because with Bulwark open, we could just kill their creatures indiscriminately. So it can work. It's just not real likely with Coral Colony. You heard it here first, or second, or maybe third. I don't know. And Mill Defenders does it again. I had 3 defenders on the board at the end of the game. I started off with a bulwark that never really got to mill our opponent any. It just got taken out after a little bit of damage. But there was a point where I had both coral colonies out and a shield wall sentinel. So I was milling for like 10 a turn. It was really very brutal, and our opponent put an end to that as quickly as they possibly could. But it just wasn't enough to get there, and ultimately they scooped at 9 life and 1 card in their library rather than passing turn to me, letting me mill that off, and then passing turn back to them. So inevitability is a thing.
And hey, just in case you didn't catch all that, Matt would like you to know that the deck list that we discussed in this video is going to have a link down in the doobly-doo to take you over to EtherHub, along with a link to any other alternative lists that you might wish to consider. He only asks that you give it a little thumbs up when you're over there checking out the deck list. And I plan on live playing this event on Wednesday at 11 a.m. over on my Twitch channel. So definitely stop in and check it out. Because the Stronghold is so much more than just a YouTube channel, and you can find links to all of our other social media outlets in our profile. Because at the end of the day, we're all budget players. And as a community, we're stronger together. So like, comment, subscribe, follow, do all those things to show a little love. It's appreciated more than you know.